Hello and welcome to a review of the BenQ EX2780Q monitor. I was recently very lucky to have been sent this, which I am very grateful to BenQ for, so thank you very much for that. In this video I am going to review it and talk a bit about what I liked about it most, the features I thought were interesting, and show you some gameplay graphics to demonstrate some of the things that it can do visually as best I can. So firstly, the way I'm going to structure this, I am going to go over the main features of the monitor, and then I'm going to go into a bit more detail and give my opinion on the different aspects of it before doing a summary and then finally giving it a final score. So let's get straight into it. So the actual size of the monitor itself from corner to corner is 27 inches, and that's the size of the screen. So the resolution is 1440 pixels, otherwise known as a Quad HD, which is a nice kind of sweet spot between 4K and Full HD, meaning that you can hit those higher refresh rates whilst having a decent resolution as well. So really nice there. Speaking of refresh rates, this has a refresh rate of 144 Hz, which means that in game you can get to 144 frames per second, obviously. This is really good if you want to do some competitive gaming and you want to have that little bit of an edge against your enemies in multiplayer, if you're going online and things. And most monitors nowadays are about 60 frames per second or 60 Hz, and this is more than double that, so you potentially have a massive advantage against the average kind of player out there. This is really, as I said before, really nice when combined with the Quad HD, and because it's not too high resolution, you can still hit those 144 frames per second with no trouble at all if you've got a reasonable PC. So the next main feature that this monitor has, which is exclusive to it, is HDRi, and it is there to offer improved contrast, which can reveal more details and more saturated color to ensure that you have kind of the utmost gaming experience and video enjoyment as well. So basically you'll see a much wider range of colours on the colour spectrum, which makes things stand out a bit more and makes them look really nice. Just a few other things before we move on. There are 3 different HDRi modes. There's Cinema HDRi, Game HDRi and Display HDR. Now the one that I actually prefer is the Cinema HDRi because I think that the whites are a lot brighter and the blacks are a lot deeper, meaning that the contrast is overall much better for all of the colours. Another thing that this monitor has that is quite unique is the emulated HDR, which means that if you're watching something in SDR format, which is standard dynamic range, it will actually enhance that as well and make that look better. It'll automatically turn it on and give you an enhanced visual performance anyway. So those are all the main features. Now we're going to go into some of the other details of the monitor as well. Next up, we're going to talk about the sound of the monitor. Now, traditionally, people don't really normally play sound on their monitors. They normally have a headset. But to be honest, and this is my genuine opinion, this is probably the best sounding monitor I have ever heard. The bass sounds are really deep, really good. They're really clear. Obviously, I can't really show you, but yeah, it's BenQ have got their own sort of like sound sub company called Trivolo, and yeah, as I say, best sound in a monitor I've ever heard. So if you want to play with that headset, then you will be absolutely fine. So next, just going to talk very quickly on the technical setup. Essentially, you have to do nothing. This monitor will set the maximum resolution for you and the maximum refresh rate as well, and even the HDRi as well. So you have to do nothing, it'll be perfect straight out of the box. The adjustability of the monitor, you can rotate it backwards and forwards, but you can't go side to side. The stand build quality is really strong, really stable. So if you are going to be sitting up higher or sitting down lower, you can adjust it for that, but nothing much more than that. Another handy thing about this monitor is you get a remote as well, which is the first time I've had a monitor which comes with a remote. So that means that you can just sit back and relax and just control the monitor from however far away you are. You don't have to put your hand around the back of the monitor and turn the volume up and down and all the rest of it and faff around. Really simple to use, really nice. overall, nice little addition. In terms of the actual physical setup of the monitor, the boxing is really well packaged, really secure, and taking it out and building it is really simple. You just need like a screwdriver, and there's only like 2 or 3 screws I think you have to do, and that's it, and it's really stable and fine. The actual look of the monitor as well, it's got this kind of nice, it's kind of like gold brassy finish to it, and it's also bezel-less as well. It's really thin, so the monitor screen almost goes like all the way out to the sides, as opposed to like traditional monitors where they've got like almost an inch in some of them. So now onto the price. No messing around here because it's obviously a very important point for a lot of people. I'm going to show you on the screen now 3 different currencies. This is what it's currently listed on Amazon for at this point in time. Remember, you are getting Quad HD, 144Hz and HDR as well. So I think this is kind of a point in terms of pricing just before it goes up quite steeply. So for example, if you had the same specs but you had 4K resolution, then you'd be looking at 1,000 in any of those currencies. So that's something to consider. In terms of lifespan, I mean, if you had this in 5 years' time, it would still be classed as competitive and a decent monitor in my view. So there's that to consider. Obviously, it's up to you how much you want to pay. So finally, the input and output connectors. There are 2 HDMI 2.0 slots, 1 DisplayPort 1.4, a USB Type-C and a headphone jack slot. I'm using the DisplayPort 1.4 for this, using a DisplayPort cable, funnily enough, to connect my PC to my monitor so that I can make sure that I maximize the 144Hz frame rate and also the maximum resolution of 1440 pixels. So to summarize then, this is a 27-inch monitor with a resolution of 1440p, a max FPS of 144, high dynamic range colors with 3 different modes. It has a very deep bassy sound that's very clear as well. It's got a very thin bezel around the screen with a gold copper finish and a secure stand. It's got 2 HDMI slots, 1 display slot to connect to your PC, and I think it's both very easy to set up technically and physically, and it's also very easy to change the settings using the included remote, which actually comes with its own stand, which I initially thought was a doorstop, which would have been an extremely unique addition if it were. And finally, also something I haven't mentioned yet, it also comes with something called eye care technology on the screen, so if you want to have some lengthy gaming sessions, then you will still feel comfortable when viewing it for extended periods. So now I'm going to give it a final score, which is completely impartial, and I'm going to give this out of 10. So the score we are going to give it is 9.5. I really don't think there's too much I can fault this monitor with. If I were to be very critical, then maybe the HDR standard could go to Visa 600 instead of 400 maybe, and the response time could have been a few milliseconds quicker to satisfy those that want it to be almost 0. With this being an IPS panel though, that's very difficult at the moment for people to do, for manufacturers to do. But I think the price for the specs are very fair, and you couldn't ask much more, I don't think. If you have enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please leave a like. If you have any comments, you can post them below, and if you would like to stick around for more videos from me, please click the subscribe button as well. Thanks very much for watching, and have an awesome rest of the day.